Live.
It certainly is. Hello, everybody. I don't know how many everybody's there will be today. It's so beautiful out here in the Greater Toronto area in Canada. And, sorry, something keeps falling down on me. I'm just going to try and fix that. Anyway, welcome. You can hear that bang. Story of my life, I got to tell you. All right.
All right. Kim's in the house, everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome back to Virtual Studio Party, or welcome to it if it's your first time. And we have some creative activity and conversation. And I'm joined by my co-pilot, Cal Honey.
Hello.
And alternate Saturdays, Cal Honey and I do these live streams. Virtual Collage Jam on Cal Honey's channel and Virtual Studio Party here on my channel. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Kirk. Nice to see you. I'm thrilled that you were lured indoors, at least for the duration of Virtual Studio Party. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Because it's such a lovely day out there, I know.
At least where we are, Mother Nature is
that's
putting on
true.
a really nice autumn day.
Yeah, it's been so great lately that we've been able to do home improvements and on the exterior. And I'm just rubbing some Voltaren into my hand. My hands have been sore today. So our front entranceway from the outside looks so much nicer thanks to Cal's efforts. And today I started working on the front door itself. Because it's an old door, and we meant many years ago when we moved here to attend to it and spruce it up and make it, even though it's an old door, make it look okay. And it's not one of those elegant oak and wood doors, old doors. So, yeah. But anyway, I finally started work on it because it's such great weather that the wood glue will dry. So hopefully we'll manage to get it all prepped and painted before the cold weather really hits.
We will.
So
I have faith.
Beautiful but cool where you are, eh? Yeah, exactly. In the shade, it's definitely cool here, but the sun is so beautiful, and that's really nice. Okay, so what
have you got planned for today, Kim?
Well, that's good.
Or is the word plan a loose interpretation?
No, I do. I've brought some things. Let's put it that way.
That's good. Excellent.
So I've got some stuff. I just have to lay out my mat here. And as anybody's joined us, if you are signed in, so you're able to join in the chat, please say hi and let us know where you're from and if you're going to be doing some kind of creative activity. Yes, I think that looks quite good, actually.
Okay,
Thank
great.
you, Cal.
Excellent.
It's good to have tech support right on hand.
If sliding the laptop back is tech support,
it is.
That I can handle that.
It's crew, right?
But
if this were a TV show, you'd be the crew.
If there are tricky technical things, it's over to Kim.
So I'm currently teaching a course on mixed media artist books, as certainly Rebecca knows. And I thought I would do some work on them. Now I have my table is covered in bits of salt, of kosher salt, because of a demonstration I was doing yesterday at the end of class. So I'm just going to have to empty. Oh yes, do you like my my studio garbage can?
A student gave us a whole whack of those.
No, I picked them up from Free Cycle.
Oh, right.
Brampton Free Cycle. And yeah, a woman has a cat and she uses this cat litter, and she had all these pails and she thought they're like really decent pails. And she just couldn't bear to throw them out because they were just too good. So she offered them on FreeCycle, and I went and snagged them.
And they were quite a catch.
Were they, dear?
Yeah.
Well, that's
Rebecca
good.
says that she's doing macrame, and Kirk will be doing his regular cross stitching.
Right. So you're both doing textile based.
It's fiber art land.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yes, there was something I was thinking of doing because I love knots. So macrame, right? It's not that I've done macrame, but it's certainly in the same territory. But there was something I was thinking the other day I should do that was knotting, and I can't remember. So I'm just sliding into the groove of what I already can remember to do.
But for future,
yeah, it's definitely a possibility. So this is the paper that is the reason I have salt over my desk, or actually it's the earlier one that I did. And I think I'm going to start off making a patch for my white band. So I just have to figure out what shape makes sense.
and while Kim gives that some thought, if you're joining us and haven't said hi in the chat, or please let us know. It's fine if you want to just not chat much, but it's always nice to know who's watching. So say hi, and then feel free to step back from the chat and keep your hands busy or not.
The chat is crucial for me to not feel like I'm just talking into space.
I'm always here. I'm receptive space.
Right. That's true.
Yeah.
I do have that going for me.
She said, sort of with a lackluster tone in her voice. I've got, I do have a husband. It's true. Damn it.
He's a wonderful husband. Okay.
No, but it's always more exciting to have the further afield peeps aboard.
Interesting.
Great color combo.
Yeah.
Sort of Miami-ish, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's a wash, so it's diluted. It's paler than, it's not a very intense color.
I call it tangerine and swimming pool.
I cut it too short after all that. Oh my God. All right.
Walking and chewing gum.
I'm going to try that again. This is me getting warmed up.
All right. Well, good thing you have a second sheet.
It's a whole other reality television experience,
How
right?
short should it be?
Well, first, I'm just going to cut it the whole height of the paper.
That's a good plan.
All right.
Yeah.
And then I'll cut it longer than I need it.
Yes, that's very
There
smart.
we go.
And then you can glue it on and then trim it after the fact.
All the things I would tell my students.
Yeah.
Follow my own sensible advice.
And some of them can help keep you on track if they have given half a chance.
Yeah. Rebecca's been known to.
Yeah. Don't cut it yet, Kim.
That might not be a cute enough a curve, but let's
Oh, it's cute.
get started with that. Oh, that's pretty good.
Rebecca says, it's true. You have said that to us.
Oh, students, they keep you honest.
They do. Hey, and Valerie has joined us.
Oh, great.
She
Hi,
says,
Val.
Hi, I'm here, but on my phone at the cottage. We'll see how this goes.
Right.
Well, the chat showed up, so.
I hope it's beautiful up at your cottage.
Wow.
I know it's nice. Oh, okay. So something just happened. Sorry.
Do tell.
So I'm making this patch and I wanted to make it a good shape, and I've made it a good shape. And now I'm thinking this book might need to have bits that stick up beyond the edges of the page.
And how does that happen? When
Because I like that.
Oh, that's pretty great. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'll trim it flush at the bottom, but I'm going to keep this proud of the edge at the top.
This is a term that Kim uses that I don't think many people are familiar with. Saying proud when something is sticking up. It's a woodworking term. If you're sanding something,
I guess it is.
There's
isn't
something
it?
Sticking up that you need to sort of sand down or cut down until it's flush. It's said to be proud until it's so.
Oh, that's funny. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
Thanks for noticing.
Yeah.
He's here to translate when I come out with lesser used terminology.
Val, what happened? You went walking? She said the weather is good. Went for a good walk this morning.
Can you do me a little favor, Cal? There's a yogurt container on that table that has brushes and stuff in it. I used one of my brushes that I normally have here for the door repair to apply the glue. So now I don't have it. I guess this one will do. Okay. I think what I'll do is
And Val, are you kicking back today, or are you collaging, or you're at the cottage? You may just be there with a drink on the patio. Well, maybe not on the patio. It might be pretty chilly.
I hope it's nice. I'll figure this out. I'm a little slow today.
You're allowed. I'm getting the engine going, right?
I had a pretty intense week, so the brain is not operating at its full capacity.
Excellent, Val. Val says, margarita inside, letting John do the work here. Well, I'm sorry, John, but
that sounds pretty darn good there,
well
Val.
Done, Val, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I let Cal do an awful lot of work on the front entrance, so today I thought it was time for me to do some. So I'm just putting some painter's tape down to mark my desired position in 3 key places. It's one of the nice things when you choose to be patient, which is sometimes a challenge for me, but it almost always pays off. I'm just putting some scrap paper down to take the excess of the glue.
Except when you've got a very thin layer of paint on your gel plate. That's a good time not to be too patient. Right?
Yes, it's true. Oh, I have a new daily studio practice that hasn't been quite daily, so I'm a couple of days behind now, that some of you know about, but maybe not everybody watching does, which is my new color diary, a revival of a daily practice I had in 2009, which was a painted one. I would paint. I had a pad, a watercolor block, and I used the same watercolor paper every time. And I would have a starting point of a color to mix and then improvise my subsequent colors and mixing as I go.
And painting vertical stripes, right?
Yeah, vertical stripes on a horizontally oriented page of watercolor paper. And it was a tremendous catalyst for expanding my use and understanding of color. And this is after years of being a designer working with color. But you get into habits and prejudices about color, and that color diary really rocked my world. I really, until then, I used to avoid pink, for example, and I don't avoid pink at all. I embrace it. I embrace really every color. So sometimes I come up with color schemes that maybe not everybody likes, because as far as I'm concerned, they're good colors. They're just different qualities, right? So anyway, the new daily practice I'm doing digitally, and that opens up some possibilities. It also makes it manageable for me to do, which was important because I've been missing having a more regular personal artistic practice, and because the COVID year, everything's been changing so rapidly about our business and our life, and my parents having health issues and so on, and so I do have a brayer. I don't have to use that. Just looked like a roller, so I've used it.
So just before we get too far away from the color diary that Kim was talking about, if you go to her profile on Flickr and go scroll down in her albums, The Fair Ways, you can find her old color diary.
Yeah.
Which is great. There are 56 examples of it. And then right up near the top, one of her most recent diary, or most recent albums, sorry, is the new color diary, which is being done digitally. So it's kind of fun to see
the old and the new.
The old and the new, exactly. Yeah. So that's...
I'm posting as frequently as I make them on Instagram, and then updating the Flickr album of the new color diary a little less frequently. But I am updating it.
Jane Laster-Gordon has joined us.
Oh, hi, Jane.
Hi, guys. Took me a while before I realized I was on the wrong day. Here now watching and sketching.
Awesome.
Yes, if you have one of the old videos and it's like, why is chat disabled?
Yeah, that's right. Why can't I say hi?
I'm trying to say hi. Well, welcome aboard, Jane.
So there we go. I've just glued that on. Jane, I'm working on an artist book in progress, and I've just collaged a piece on for that.
That she decided had to stick up beyond the confines of the book.
Yeah.
Is this an accordion fold book?
It's an accordion fold book.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And I reached for it to cut it off. I'm a menace. And nice thirsty paper, so I've got to apply more of the medium.
So Jane has a nice open-ended question for you to speak to.
Okay.
What exactly is an artist book?
An artist book is an original book made by an artist as a work of art. And so that can include anything that visual art could be made up of, essentially. It's a three-dimensional object. It has sequence. It has some sense of front and back or inside, outside. There's a huge array of structures. Oh, I've put glue on the part that doesn't even touch the paper. There you go. Talking and gluing at the same time. Just not a good day for me for that.
Don't worry. It's just medium. It'll dry.
Yeah. And it can include text or not. It can include painting, drawing, mark making, weaving, photography, transfers, fiber, stitching, cutouts, layers of every conceivable kind.
So
It could have macrame and crochet.
Yeah.
It could have cross stitch. It could have embroidery. Yeah.
I have a couple of things to add to that.
Yeah.
One is that I think on your Pinterest page, you have a big Pinterest board of artist book examples.
If you're on Pinterest, check out Kimberly Co. And I've got tens of thousands of pins and a whole lot of different boards. And one of them is artist books.
Yeah.
So you'll see a lot of
Kim's
examples.
Pinterest is not one of those ones that's just like everything but the kitchen sink in one place. She's got it very well organized, and one of the boards is artist books. Another thing is, I think oftentimes people, especially non-artists, think that an artist's sketchbook is more like an artist book, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that is made, curated, made beautiful with a conceptual.
Yeah, sketchbook.
Whereas a sketchbook is a working repository.
Sketchbook is a working document, and so it can have things that are absolutely beautiful in it. But I think one of the things that puts artists off, especially learning artists, puts them off having a sketchbook, is they think it has to be some work of art, and that's not it at all. It's an auxiliary artist brain, and you collect things in it, and you make notes, and you glue leaves into it, and you glue things you'd see in print, and you scribble and doodle and paint swatches and whatever it is you need to do.
Yeah.
And you store a collection of thoughts and research and so on. Whereas an artist book is a work of art. And so that's the distinction. A journal is something that you see, creative journals, and people are doing those. It's something that can be kind of in between. So they'll use a creative journal or an artist journal as a place to try things out and a place to do samples of things. So it's a place of research, but a lot of people now are very fond of turning those into artist books.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Sketchbook Project from Brooklyn, New York. But though, generally speaking, the sketchbooks submitted to those are for public consumption, and they're made to look really nice. Yeah. As nice as the artist can make them. So it tends to be more towards an artist book than an actual sketchbook. Yeah.
It's a sketchbook, the physical
format.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it's turned into an artist book, basically. But artist books can start off like that, as just a blank book that then you make art in. All right. So that I need to set aside to dry.
Put it on the drying rack over here.
Yeah, right. And I'll have a drink of something. So the color, where did I put my phone? So the
Ricky
color diary. Hi, Ricky.
Hi, Ricky. Tai Chi ran over, but she feels great.
Oh, well, that's good. Yeah. Your chi is flowing, right? Yeah, that's awesome.
That's a great way to sort of enter the art space.
So this is where I'm doing my color diary. Can you see that right way around? Okay, good. So it's Kim's.color.diary. Color spelled the Canadian way for our American friends, with a U after the O.
Yeah.
And
there, that's great.
Let's get closer.
Yeah, you decided to break out and include dots, right?
Yeah, so I'm going to do one more with dots, and then I'm going to go back to stripes. And so periodically I'm going to do a row of some variant, something more complex.
Format breaking.
But the stripes are nice, and I'm already playing with color and width and composition just within the stripes, and to keep the practice bite-sized so that I can actually manage to do it. I think it's no accident that I'm 2 days late with my third dot one, because it's more complex and I just don't have the haven't had the time, so I'll get to it today. Anyway, it's turning into such fun. It feels good to be back at it.
You started just like a week or 10 days ago, and the first ones were like, yeah, that's nice. And then by the third one, it's like, oh, that's getting more interesting.
Yeah.
And then by like number 6 or 7, it's like, wow, suddenly it's really interesting. And you could just see her getting up to speed on it.
The first efforts are just putting one foot in front of the other.
The on-ramp, right?
Yeah. Getting warmed up. And now I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm engaged, and I'm going to have off days and whatever, but it's a daily practice. So it's like anybody who does things like yoga or meditation or any other form of daily practice like that, you just show up how you are, whatever that is. It's different every day.
Some days it's good, some days it's bad, some days it's
just different.
Yeah, exactly. And that is part of what's great about it, right?
Where the heck have I put the cap for my medium?
It's under your brayer.
Oh, good. That's why it was at that jaunty angle.
That's why it was that angle.
What are you sketching, Jane? And Rebecca, are you macrameing a practical object, or are you macrameing artistic wall hanging,
or is it something in between?
I needed that. Okay.
Nothing like a good gin and tonic on a Saturday afternoon.
It's not.
Jane says portraits.
Oh, that's very interesting. Were you feeling that groove because of the collage you did of your brother, or for your brother at least?
He says, I'm so bad at them. I disagree. I like collage, that. You've done some kick butt collage portraits. I remember you in one of our early collage classes. You took on a black and white photo I had of an old woman with really frizzy hair, and you went to town on it. Remember?
Cool.
That? Yeah.
So this is another artist book in progress. It's a very long one because I haven't folded these flaps yet. I've only folded this section. So
that's great.
I'm going close.
Wow.
Started off with new pastel drawing on wet paper and collaged Japanese or Chinese paper on top, and then I made and collaged that shape. That's one side, and the other side has gel plate image transfers, and then gel plate printing, and then in this case, some brush strokes, and that white shape is collaged white paper.
It looks great in the context both of white.
So, yeah. So I wanted to do some more work on this side.
This side has a mid-century feeling to it, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rebecca answers, I'm trying to figure out macrame with small string to make a Christmas ornament.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
That's such a nice idea. I'm hoping over the holidays, or holiday break, to get back to learning crochet. And because I did take a workshop just 2.5 years ago, I think, on crocheting an anatomically correct heart. And it was also life-size, human heart. And unfortunately, I was super busy at the time, so I didn't practice enough. But I still have the pattern, and I thought maybe I'll start with something simpler. and then tackle the heart again with different yarn. I'd like to use something more like linen. It would be fine too. Linen thread like they use for bookbinding.
Valerie asks, when you do an artist book, do they have when you do an artist book, do they have a theme?
So it's good to have something to unite them, but the theme can be conceptual, it can be formal, it can be a repeating motif, it can be anything. And so because it's sequence, whether it's pages or accordion, or there are more experimental forms too, you want to think about, well, what happens over that sequence. Not doesn't have to be story wise, but it could be. You could have narrative, and you could have something happen, but it could also be some kind of transformation, some kind of change happens. When you start at the start and you end at the end, what are the differences? What are the similarities? And what happens in between? So, in this thing, for example, the processes I'm using, front and back, are quite different. But the color palette is limited and the same. And here I've done these sort of bold, simple shape cutouts with the Collage translucent paper. And here I've got transparent red printing that is blocky cutouts, simplified bold cutouts too. So they have this relationship, but they're different front and back. So that's the other thing about a book, right? There's sort of front and back, inside, outside.
On the nature of that.
Anyway, so there's lots of thinking thinking with your hands and thinking with your head. It's a mixture of the two. So
Rebecca says she did a hand/arm crochet basket last month.
I saw that, Rebecca, and it looked fabulous and very chic, I must say. How big was that basket?
Oh, see, I was thinking that it was a basket shaped like a hand and arm or something.
Mm-mm.
So I was saying,
it's instead of using needles.
Oh.
And so the yarn's like really fat and the stitches are really big. Wow. And
that's so
and
cool.
Yeah, I have admired things done like that before. So when I saw yours, I thought, wow, that's great. Yeah.
And Ruth Oppenheim says, "Hi, Kim and Cal. I'm late. I got a scary email from a hacker." Oh, that's always a drag.
Yeah. Just don't give them anything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the key. All right, so let's flip it over again.
Rebecca says it's 18 inches across.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it's big, like giant scale stitches.
Is this on
within
Instagram that you saw it?
I think it was Instagram, right, Rebecca? My memory today, I'll tell you. Yeah, the old brain is tired. Okay, I know I wanted to bring some lights into some places here. So I think what I'm going to do, this might be an opportunity to bring in some of the paper I used on the other side. Okay. Oh, there we are. Good.
Not be on Instagram because her account doesn't have any posts yet.
Oh, okay. So it was somewhere else I saw it then.
Maybe Facebook.
Yes, I guess it must have been. Get my scissors. So.
Yeah, Rebecca just confirmed Facebook.
Good stuff.
And how are you, Ruth? What are you going to be working on, or are you just going to hang out
or
and
playing
watch?
with?
Play, yeah, play exactly. It's art day, so it should be play, not work.
Yeah. Boy, this would look nice on this too. I have to say I'm liking this these colors together. So who knows? I might break out of my austere.
The designer says, no, that's got to be black, red, white, and grays. It can't have any other color.
Yeah, that's Cal all over.
That's why it's her book, not mine.
That's right. Oh, I remember something. Can I ask you for another little favor? There are a bunch of skewers by the front door. If you can bring them.
They're top of mind, so you're...
No, I remember now. I had an idea yesterday that I'd just forgotten temporarily. So, see, I've already made a mess in front of myself. Look at this.
Having a
the table's filling up. That's not low enough. Okay, there we go. Good. Just have to pick the right size skewer. That's the right size. Okay. And do I have some gesso? There's some gesso. Oh, things are looking up. Things are looking up. Oh, you know what? I forgot to put barrier cream on. Phew. Caught myself.
Ruth says she's just playing in my studio, making more grounds for use in my books.
That sounds great. Just playing sounds great.
Yep.
Making grounds is so much fun.
It's actually a really good thing to do while watching or listening in. So.
Yeah. So the idea I had yesterday was the textures of these two center panels that I transferred. I'll show you what I'm referring to. So you see they have these nubbly textures. So I thought I would pick some out in white, maybe to coincide with more or less with where their highlights are, as a way of increasing the contrast and bringing in another element.
Ruth answers, and great to have your company.
Aw.
Likewise.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm going to have to ask you to open that. I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
You're very much welcome.
See, my crew. I think I'll need much. We had a nice visit today from someone who was picking up a print she bought from the Redhead Gallery fundraiser. She already owned one of my interior life abstract photo pieces, and I was offering a different one as part of the fundraiser, and which goes on till the end of the year. And she bought it, so that's really nice. So I'm busy preparing a new artwork to replace that one on the Redhead Gallery website. Always nice delivering some artwork. Well, having it picked up in this case. We were trying to deliver it to her, but it was the same time that my father had a heart attack, so it's not a good time. This is not a good year to have people close to you needing to get into the hospital for other reasons than, well, for any reason, whether it's COVID or not.
There's never a good time for that, but
it's so much harder.
But for 2020, he really did pick a good time because the hospitals were at least allowing visitors.
Yeah.
At that
they
point,
had severe restrictions on visitors, but my stepmother and I were able to visit him separately, and they had a time limit. But so Cal couldn't visit him, but yeah, we had some lovely time together.
But if it had happened now, for instance, you wouldn't
Yeah.
have had that. So
Yeah, well, and the intensive care units are so full now, so it's difficult.
Val says, "Hope your dad is okay now."
Thank you. Yes, he got back home before the new measures took place, and he tells me he's feeling a bit stronger, and I know he's doing okay because he's hard to get hold of. This is the downside to his. When he was at the hospital, he was really easy to get hold of. But yeah.
Is it because he's so busy, Kim?
He's so occupied with a very loud television set because he's quite hard of hearing. But at home, he refuses to wear his hearing aids. So you can be outside his house and hear his television.
We've gone to visit, and I think they've known we're coming, and we're knocking on the door and ringing the doorbell. Can't get anyone because the television inside is so loud they can't hear us at the door. We had to end up banging on the window to.
Yeah, so not ideal, you know.
It is to laugh, though. I mean, it is pretty funny.
It is. That's my dad. So if I'm eccentric at all, believe me, between my mother and my father, I'm sure my mother will never see this, so I can say that.
I'll tell her.
I come by it honestly.
All right, Mom. Make sure you watch the Saturday, October 17th edition.
Because he's such a brat.
I'm not a brat. I wouldn't do that.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of fun.
So those bubble wrap looking things, are those?
They're lipsticks.
Oh yeah, and is that a transfer?
Yeah, a gel plate transfer.
Pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, you get the feeling of each individual nub has a gradient on it. Mm-hmm. It's a metallic finish, so just so you can see what I'm up to with it, laying in these white dots.
Yeah. In pastel style. Yeah. Is it what kind of paint are you using?
I'm using gesso.
Ah, right. Well, that will keep it super white
for its opacity.
Yeah. Rebecca says after her dad's heart attack, the hard thing was keeping him off the roof because he wanted to clear snow off the solar panels. Oh, that's a dad after
That
my
is
own
such
heart.
a dad thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's. I mean, you gotta love him in one respect, right? Because it's not letting
Yeah.
it slow him down.
But I mean, snow clearing is notorious for
Heart attack inducing.
for giving people their first heart attacks. Never mind people who've already had them. So having done those dots, I think I am going to look at the pants. And, I mean, I said this was a mixed media book, and it's definitely...
Is it living up to the billing?
Living up to that, yeah. I'm looking at some water-soluble graphite.
Rebecca, does your dad live off grid or something crazy like that, or is he just progressive as far as having solar panels, which is great?
Yeah, that is great. I need a container of water. That's the problem. Is that clean water?
No.
No.
I
So
can get you.
this is clean water. If you can just help me with these tools that are trying to fall out of it. Thank you. There we go. Thank you kindly. So I'm just going to test this out on some scrap paper, if such a thing exists here. There we go. Yeah. I'm going to punch up these pants.
Oh, wow. That's so impressive, Rebecca. That's exactly what Kim and I would have liked to do and may still do. So she says of her dad, not entirely off grid, but they have solar panels and geothermal heat.
Oh,
So
I'd so love to be on geothermal.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Wow. I love that.
It's what we need to reduce carbon. The upfront cost is substantial, but then
the your heating and cooling costs become so much less. I mean, I hope he's found that.
I had a student who I was giving private lessons to for a while, who lived half an hour north of us here in Brampton, near Georgetown, and they had don't know whether they built their house from scratch. I think they might have, including geothermal, including solar panels, and they said their running costs were just like tiny.
Yeah, that's what I would love. Not necessarily in this house, though.
Rebecca says that's why he wants the panels clear of snow to maximize the output at all times. Exactly.
Yeah. My dad is a retired electrical engineer, and he had a lot of good ideas, and he was capable of quite a lot of things, tinkering and designing wise and making wise. But he had this couch potato inertia that meant that even worse than we have, Cal. Ours isn't couch potato though. It's just our energies applied to other things. But so things that he had projects for decades that he was going to do, so that we had to hang on to everything for it. But needless to say, when we went to sell his old house, it was a big pile of these things that have been neglected for so long. I sympathize, though. I mean, as an artist, I have to collect things for projects, things that make me think. Supplies I intend to use. One thing I'm trying to do during COVID, I don't know if you guys have things you decided to do during COVID that COVID was the instigator. This is a small thing, but I have so many pads of paper, so many kinds of paper, sketchbooks and printmaking papers and Girolars and vellums and Yupos, and it goes on and on and on. And, of course, the kind of work I do, I need a variety of them, but there are too many that are like partly used and I just need to use up. So one of my little missions this year is to use a bunch up. I've used a bunch of paint tubes up. That's been good.
It's a good feeling, sort of bringing things.
Yeah, it opens up a little space, right?
Yeah.
It mentally as well as physically. So
Ricky has a question. From South. She says, question about COVID. Did your area of the world open up too quickly and now forced to shut down again?
I don't know that they opened up too quickly, but what we noticed when we were out and about this summer, and our numbers had dropped
to very low,
to very little, and so it seemed perfectly reasonable. But I noticed people behaved as though COVID no longer existed. So we would go to a park, a big park, lots of people there, and we would be the only people that we saw of the countless people we saw wearing a mask. And, they're on bikes. They figure, oh, well, it's okay that we're passing you like a foot away because we're going so fast. No. And you're breathing harder. So in fact, you're, it's like, and people were just behaving like, and I actually stopped walking in our local parks because I found in our city, people were particularly resistant to masks. So we started going further afield to trails that were less populated. But even there, fortunately, just saw a lot fewer people. But even there, if people were on bikes, they just seemed to feel like they didn't need to wear masks.
But speaking to Ontario, the numbers are now higher than they were
when we had the complete lockdown in March. Our numbers were lower, and
they are reimposing restrictions, but I think they've been a bit slow on it, and they're still keeping schools in for the moment. Which I think is
don't get us started about how badly they've had months and months and months to plan the school situation, and it's a travesty. I realize travesty is a word I use relative to our situation, Ricky. You have a whole other, I don't know how your state is, because I know the state governments are typically more responsible, but I know you've got a whole other level of travesty going on. But it's inexcusable that they're saying we could only have our Thanksgiving dinner with people we were residing with. That was the orders from on high. But kids were going to schools with 30 in a class, and if you're lucky, spaced a meter apart. It makes zero sense. It's based on, there's no logic to that. And in terms of risk, my God, teacher friend of mine, got sick because it's fall and people get sick at schools, and was of course getting tested for COVID. And because she was waiting to hear her results, her boyfriend had to stay home and her parents were in quarantine because they'd all been exposed to her, and they had to wait to see what her test results were and maybe get tested themselves. So it's just, and then, once she's better, she's going to have to go back to overcrowded, poorly managed conditions.
And And to answer your question, Ricky, we do have some Looney Tunes who insist wearing a mask is an infringement on individual liberties, but it's nothing like the States, because Canada, despite that fact and despite having some provincial conservative governments, we still have a strong socialist ethic, thank goodness, but it's undermined more than it used to be.
It's up. So the stuff that's going on in your country has unleashed forces in Canada that would otherwise have remained buried. And I was happier when they were buried, frankly. It's like our id has come out into the open. So, yeah, I mean, we don't get massive protests against masks here. There are little protests against them. And I will add, those protesters are not arriving heavily armed either, right? Because we're in Canada, and that's a big difference.
Rebecca says, I think they opened too quickly, especially restaurants.
Yeah.
Partly because
Bars.
it gave people the idea they didn't need to take precautions anymore. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, it makes me think about when we were at school, and because a couple of idiots in the class do something outrageous and stupid, the entire class effectively gets denied privileges or the opportunity to go on a field trip, right? And that's what's happening in the adult world now because of the pandemic. And I understand, I haven't read in depth about it, but I understand that during the Spanish flu epidemic, while there was, the United States government was certainly handling that a lot better than it is now. There were still some fringe people who thought it was overblown or whatever. And so wouldn't take the precautions. But because the government was actually sort of doing its job to protect people, I think that it ended up better managed. Now, where's my white? I need a white paint pen. Hopefully I have one in this. Oh no, I know. It's in the green. There it is. It's in the other pencil case. So Ruth, you were asking about paint pens yesterday. Here I am shaking it. You can hear it.
What's shaking, Kim?
And now I'm just going to pump it until I get a nice flow. And now I can use it. Excuse me. So I'm going to develop some white shapes, at least one in the pants area, using paint pen this time. My mother got a new kitten, which has been a great boon. She used to be very, very busy running her 2 tutoring businesses. She was constantly dealing with clients, having to hire new tutors for various subjects, and for different parts of the city, and administer the business and all of that. And then of course COVID happened, and so in-person tutoring wasn't a thing.
Not happening much. I think there are still some people who want it, but it's
there are
drastically
people
reduced.
wanting it, but the tutors don't necessarily want it, even though it impinges on their living. They don't want to die for their risk dying,
Imagine
or
that.
risk whoever
Spreading.
they live with contracting it as well, and spreading it and all that. So so my mother, who's used to being extremely busy, has been faced with not, and then she had some health issues, and so she got a kitten, and that has been so great. But I'd heard that it was getting really hard and expensive to get a dog. Well, getting kittens pretty similar, apparently. She couldn't believe what people were charging for just regular kittens, not fancy purebreds or anything. I think I'll do a second shape.
Ruth says, "Great, thanks." About the paint pen, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I knew she'd be. It'd be useful to show. Ricky, how are you holding up? I know it's an intense time for you. So you're doing Tai Chi. That sounds like a really good move.
Balancing thing, yeah.
Yeah. Literally a good move.
Yeah, no, totally,
good set of moves. Yeah. So I hope you're able to do a lot of things that are helping you through what is obviously a tough time. Just psychically, even if your personal circumstances are okay, it cannot be a good environment. Right, so now I have to decide what to do with that.
Decisions.
That's interesting, eh? There, I decided, for better or worse. That's the thing about decisions, right?
Yeah, you got to make them.
At a certain point, you just have to make it, even if it's not the perfect decision.
Philippa says,
"Oh, hi, Philippa."
Yeah, hi, Philippa. I'm using up old paints too.
Yeah.
We have also finally organized my paintings on new shelving units in our storage locker.
Fabulous.
Yeah, and then you can find them again.
That must feel so good. Yeah. I did something. One of the things that made last week intense was I have an old school chum out in Sweden who I'm determined I'm going to visit once COVID is behind us or in some way mitigated. Anyway, she's interested in. She bought a print of mine, a large print of mine. Last year at a solo show I had in March, and I had a couple of jumbo prints there that she was looking at one of them and really liking it, but she wasn't going to buy the jumbo print, and it's very complex. In fact, the title of it is Hidden Complexity. So I said to her, I had been thinking that I want to make crops into images, standalone images. So maybe you'd like those. And she was interested. Anyway, a lot of things happened, including not doing that work of figuring out the crops and sending it to her, and COVID and my parents. And anyway, I finally sat down and figured out a whole series based on cropping this one jumbo complex image. And then I made a portfolio of those images, like a little publication, but digital. And in a setting that feels like an installation, but without it being like a whole room. It's just like you're seeing a wall with part of a sofa. And anyway, I'm quite pleased with it, but it took a lot of work to get that done. Now that I've done it, though, I'm thinking I need to do this for all my series. It's so organized, and it's such a great way to present things.
Couple of answers for you.
Oh, good.
Ricky says, I'm good, but very anxious. I can't begin to say how tough these times are, and every day seems to get worse just when you think the worst has happened. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, I feel for you, Ricky. I really do. And any of our friends down in the States. Yeah.
And Philippa says, today I'm just hanging out watching you. This morning I was working on a painting I started on the weekend in the 3-day online Bob Burridge workshop.
Oh, right. I saw that you did that.
Yeah. How
did you have fun?
It? I've heard good things about him. Did you enjoy it, Philippa?
Did you get one of his passes or whatever it's called, where he gives you permission to something or other? Forget what it is.
We had that idea like a long time ago, like a permission granted. Like,
yeah.
Yes, this grants you the permission to do what you want with this piece of artwork.
Exactly.
Because I think that's what an important
a lot
part
of people need.
Do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
And artists need.
So I'm going to show you progress on this. Okay. So you see the pants one, how it's two shapes I picked out in white. And then that balances out this very contrasting shape.
And it looks kind of like it relates to the gray shape on the other side of the pants.
Well, exactly.
So like
exactly. Because it does.
Yeah. Intentionally. It's almost like you designed it that way.
It's almost as if. I think. So, is that the right way around? Yeah, I think so. Just making sure I was showing you the right way up. I actually intended to print these pants the other direction, but I lost track of that in the moment, you know. So.
Ruth says, really pops.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Gives that panel more tonal separation. Okay, I was cutting some of this paper. I think I might have an idea.
Oh, I'm quite certain that you do.
Cal and I were just joking yesterday about how I have certain phrases that he's probably heard 89,000 times at least, and coming from me. And one of them is probably, I had an idea, Cal. Or I've had this idea, Cal. Because I am idea generator code.
Idea generator, for sure.
Yeah. Yes, that could be my nickname. Okay, what do I want to? I think I want it to. It's one of the things, figuring out what you want something to do.
Ricky says, the art you all do is inspiring. I just love watching you at work. I just looked at Hidden Complexity. I like how intricate it is.
Thank you. Yeah. I find it fascinating, the intricacies of things big and small in nature. So from our blood vessels to river systems, tree branches and roots. All of that.
And more.
And more. That's it.
That's the one?
Yep.
Yep.
It's going to go top to bottom.
Another funky shape.
Yeah, another funky shape. Looks a bit like one of those flags and poles at a golf hole.
Yeah.
Pardon me, any golfers here, if I'm using the wrong terms. I have cousins who are big golfers, and my grandfather was a big golfer, but I'm not a golfer, so.
Not yet, anyway.
Oh, I've put my brush in gesso.
Uh-oh.
That's not what I want. I want medium. Okay. What I did like doing growing up, though, was going to driving ranges. That suits me. Like I used to do discus and shot put in high school track. So
you do have a remarkable power.
I did anyway. I will again because I'm getting in shape.
Ruth asks, is that bond paper you're collaging?
No, it's Chinese mulberry paper. And that's why I'm doubling it up. I've cut that shape out using a folded piece of paper to get a double thickness.
That's smart, because yeah, that's pretty
because it's too transparent when it's
single layer.
Single layer for this purpose. I want a little more light than that.
A little more opacity, white opacity, right?
And therefore light.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that's thirsty paper, so I'm just going to let that set up and then I'm going to recoat it. So I can't believe how much time has passed already. Like I feel like 20 minutes has gone by. I think that's one of the beautiful things about working on any kind of creative project.
I agree.
Is what it does to time. It just
renders it
kind of irrelevant.
Irrelevant, exactly.
Yeah.
That's the word I was
not part of your world.
Yeah. We do live in a world where time and being constantly aware of its passing is unhealthy. So.
Well, and it's a world obsessed by time. That a culture that believes time is money and where money is paramount, is an unhealthy culture. You think about how they train us in school to, change classes when the bell goes and all that stuff. I remember being really young and only having a 20-minute lunch. Well, That makes
Wow,
no
that's
sense at
brutal.
all in human terms. You know,
When was
young
that?
people should have an hour-long lunch so they can eat and hang out and have some fun and get outside and breathe some air. Yeah. This one I was at UTS. I don't know whether I was in grade 9 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that's criminal.
It wasn't 20-minute lunch every day, but every week. I don't, it could have been twice a week. I had a really short lunch. It's like, that's not reasonable.
No, it isn't. Completely unreasonable for anyone, but especially any young person.
Well, and now that I'm on the other side of having gone through more than one burnout and health issues and all this stuff, and I realize those lessons set up patterns that were exceedingly bad for me. No one should have to pay for their job or their school with their health. Because when you get older, you realize
That's all you got.
all you got is what time you have left and your health. There. So I had to get some glue on the inside of the folded two sheets of paper, as well as underneath, and now I'm putting it on top. I'm just calling it glue. It's acrylic medium.
Well, you just answered Ricky's question.
Oh,
Said,
good.
What glue is that
What
you're
glue?
using, or is it
Yeah.
glue?
Yeah. So it's acrylic polymer medium. It's a custom semi-gloss mix that I mixed together myself. So, and I'm using that particular one because it's what I had on hand. So it'll look slightly different when it's dry. We'll see how different though. And I'll trim off the excess at the bottom once it's dry. But yeah, I think that's kind of fun. And it kind of swings. Sorry, I should show it to you right side up. I think I just showed it to you upside down. Only I had about 6 hands, eh?
Need
Comes down and then it sort of swings towards this, which sweeps up, and then that catches that. And so there's kind of this movement through. And the mark making on the other side is kind of inherently that sort of movement, actually. So that's kind of fun too. So pretty soon I'm going to have to start working on these longer flaps. Well, hopefully before next Friday, which is when the final class of the course is. I want to have something to show my students, share with my students. There we go. Okay. I'm going to bring the paint pen in some more. Deal with this panel. Going back to the daily practices thing, daily practices are very powerful, whether they're something like Tai Chi or yoga or meditation or an artistic daily practice. The cumulative power of them is amazing. So each individual session can be quite short, but it's their repetition builds on itself. And I actually wrote a blog post about my color diary. So if you wander over to my website, visit the blog, you'll find it there. But I was remembering the fact that the second I before COVID, I used to regularly give talks, make presentations, showing art, talking about it. But the second topic that I ever spoke about was artists' daily practices, or daily practices for artists, and there was a workshop that went along with it as well. And I was keenly interested. I remain keenly interested in it as a topic, and that's sort of when I learned more about what an effect it can have. And in fact, I'd be hard pressed to remember. No, I don't know. I'm wondering which came first, the talk or my original color diary practice, but I can't remember. I have to go looking through my records. Interesting, though.
There's both in my work and in life, I like succinct quotes or succinct summations of things. And one that really hit me when I read it was, and I don't think it's a quote. Well, it's probably a quote that I don't know the source of, but it's what you do every day is how you spend your life. And it hit me like a punch.
That's
because
like
I'm always putting my art
bricks.
off for I'll fit this in next week or whatever. And I just thought, whoa, and that's what a daily practice, exactly what a daily practice is about.
It does, right? For you.
You do it for what? So some people do it for like 5 or 10 minutes a day.
Yeah.
But it accumulates. It's like compound interest. Right?
Yeah, the magic of compound interest is so analogous, and also it keeps the thread alive. When any artist goes too long without being in their studio doing something, all the threads that were alive and generated more ideas and influenced each other and all of that, they've all gone quiet. It's like it's like electrical appliances that have become unplugged. And even a very small daily practice keeps everything plugged in. Even things that are not related to the daily practice. And it's amazing.
And anyone who knows, we've all been away from our art for too long at some point, and it's hard to get going again.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've just got a little bit every day or every few days, it's so much, it's continuous, right? It's like, oh yeah, I can pick right up where I was. And that's so important for developing ideas or getting deeper and beyond where you progressing, right?
Yeah.
So
in the normal, non-linear, non-analytical fashion. It grows organically. It grows like plants grow, I'm going to put a big bold black here.
Big bold black.
Yep. Also with paint pen.
Ricky asks, can you recommend a way to glue vellum paper? Elmer's leaves traces and lumps. I think anything that's sort of translucent and plastic is tricky because you do see the only thing that comes to mind for me is maybe one of those, a foam roller, so that you get a really even distribution. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on that, Kim?
Thinking about it.
Yeah.
I would consider trying. There's a newfangled adhesive delivery method that all the young journalers use, which is it's a dispenser like this, and it has you run it along the page, and it leaves a band of adhesive, very even band that you can then stick. It's a strip of adhesive, and the thing about that would be that it would be very tidy, and you could, depending on the application, you would not be covering the whole surface with these bands. You would be doing it along the top, and
Maybe
then
along
choosing
an edge,
different places to do it depending on what your application is, right? Like, is this a whole sheet of something? Is this cutout shapes? In which case, the edges of the cutouts, you would want to do that on, apply it to, rather. And so that's something you could consider. Acrylic medium is chemically closely related to white glue, like Elmer's. What I would consider, whatever the base is, I'm assuming you're gluing vellum to something else. So the base layer, I would brush with a wide brush, lots of it, so that you could smooth it out with something like this or a little squeegee, and then drop down one edge and smooth it down quickly. You can actually drop it down and do this to smooth it down. That could work. It depends on tracing paper is notorious for just rippling on contact with water stuff. So the other thing is you could consider something like rubber cement, which isn't water-based, and therefore doesn't, you have to do both sides with rubber cement and let it get set up so it's not wet, it's tacky, and then you glue it together. But it's quite permanent, so.
And Val suggests that a spray adhesive might work on vellum.
Yes, that's another good option. Excellent. Don't you love having a brain trust?
Yeah. The hive mind, as the young pups call it.
The hive mind. Wow. Okay. So I put in a black shape over here next to my narrow white shape. Let's see what we've got now. It's quite interesting when I see it in the screen. When I'm showing it to you, it gives me a fresh perspective on what I'm doing. So it's quite handy. Okay, let's see. There. Right way up. And so down at the bottom, that narrow white shape, that's been whitened. And you see there's a subtle, because of where it is and it's next to red, that black in the corner. But once you see it, then it really ties into the other blacks that are in these pages. So, one of the things about accordion books is the fact that when it's a book and you can go through it, a spread at a time, but you have the opportunity of opening it up and seeing things all together like that. And I think that's quite one of the fun things about this kind of book. And you can see what's happening with that paper shape that I collaged on. So we'll see. It's still very damp. It's not, so we'll see how relatively opaque or translucent. It's going to be translucent, but how much will show through will be interesting to see. Are you coming back, Cal?
I am.
Because I think it's after 3:30. So I was just showing the results, and I'll just show this again because you always have to look at things in relation to the other things in the same context or on the same object. And so interesting that there are such differences, and yet there are things in common front and back. So chunky, bold shapes.
Very rounded, bold, chunky shapes.
Yeah, well, and there are bold shapes cut into that translucent paper, but the effect is more subtle, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's interesting. One of the things I'm thinking about doing is dyeing some of that translucent paper red and applying it to the end, one or two of the end panels. So, we'll see.
Working a bit on each side like this is a bit like a conversation, right? Like one side hears something the other side is doing and responds to it.
Yeah. So I think I'm now at the point where I need to start working on the end panels.
On this side, right?
And I have completely blank end panels there, but I'll develop these ones first because they're started, and that will help me figure out what I'm going to do on the blank ones. So
progress from the known to the unknown, right?
Yeah. So and how are you guys doing with what you were working on? How's the margarita, Val? Did you get through it? Did you make it all the way to the end?
Oh, it can be tough.
Oh dear. Well, if you want to leave some closing comments for us so we can have a finishing off chat on her second. That's a good afternoon you're having, Val.
I'm thinking that we need to go out for a little walk while the sun is still up, which is a limited time offer.
It is.
And get in a little vitamin D.
Yeah, the sun's already getting kind of low.
Yeah.
I hate that about this time of year. I miss the long days.
Yeah. I noticed that for some reason I was looking at the weather, sun up and sun down, and it's well under 12 hours now.
Oh,
so
that's sad.
7:30 sunrise and 6:30 sunset.
Oh, geez.
And 6:30. That's way too. And I know it's just
way
going to get
too
worse,
early.
but it's
yeah.
Ricky says, thank you. You're so welcome, Ricky. Thank you for joining
Thanks
us.
so much for coming, Ricky. We really appreciate you coming.
And Ruth says, thanks, Kim. Always good to be with you. See you Friday and look forward to seeing the piece progress. It's just gorgeous.
Aw, thank you. I can't wait to see what everyone else is up to. So I'm going to take a few pictures, by the way, and post them on the Facebook group. And I might pick a couple from what I post there and share them on Instagram for those of you who are not in the Facebook group because you're not part of the class. But so you'll be able to see something there. I'll pick a couple of details I like.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have a great week, everybody. Oh,
Jane says, partly because of bro, and yes, Cal, I remember that I did that one I did in your class.
It was obviously memorable,
Yeah,
Jane.
yes, obviously. And you're very welcome, Val. She says, thanks, always enjoy these.
Oh, thank you so much. And
so few of us have any, like, we don't have an opportunity to just be in a
hang
studio
out.
working with other creatives, right? That's one of the things I love about being in a class is you know, there's just this energy around you that other people are creating. So that's what we're trying to do with these. So it's great.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. And next week we will be on Cal's channel for virtual collage jam as per usual.
Yep. Same time, Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern.
That's right. And I'll put a link to that in the description box below this video once it's posted. It takes a little while for it to post.
Yeah. Rebecca says, thanks. See you next week. And Jane says, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Take care, Rebecca and Kirk. Take care, Jane, and everybody else. Philippa and everybody else who was here, whether you were able to chat or not. We'll see you next week, I hope.